Yo, welcome to another episode of What Bad Economy. Today we're gonna be talking about one of the topics that's looming on everybody's head, comp. Y'all gonna find out exactly well we're not gonna dive into hard numbers here, but what product managers make and whether or not you should be thinking about becoming a product manager. Has it been on a downward or upward trajectory? With me today, let me see here. So I got my man here, Sean, James, Lawrence, and of course CJ, who's going to be joining us momentarily. Um, yeah, let's go ahead and kick things off. So we got everybody just want to do a quick intro of themselves.
Yeah, sure, I could start. I'm James. I've known Rich for the better part of the last 7, 8 years now. Um, Currently doing product for one of the large U.S. banks. It's been 10 years since I've actually made my way back to enterprise or corporate, and so it's been a pretty interesting experience in last 6 months or so. And yeah, looking to gets. I'm really curious to see like what everybody thinks about comp because I have seen sort of the trends as of late, but I do think there are certain verticals that are challenging that trend as well. So
Lawrence.
True. Yo, what up? My name is Lawrence. I am currently the product manager for the it's called the Yum Brands, which is the parent company to Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Habit Burger, and yeah. Previously to that engagement, I was over at J Crew, leading their e-commerce platforms, building out their omni-channel hub, and then prior to that, I was with Nike, acting as product manager and senior product manager across their um, supply chain order management system and digital brand management teams. So overall, yeah, over the past 10 plus years, yeah, there's definitely been trends. I don't know if it's a good trend or not, but um, definitely wasn't like what it was like ten years ago. Like when I met Rich, when Rich was still when Rich was still recruiting me back then. But yeah, would definitely love to learn how comp has been trending as of late.
My man,
Hey
Sean.
guys, hey guys. My name is Sean Park. I'm currently a product manager at Fiserv. Previous to this, I was a product manager at Master and Dynamic, Altice USA, and Samsung Electronics America. Um, uh, Super interested in this topic today because I've seen a certain trend in terms of conversation in the consumer electronics, but would definitely want to learn more on in how other industries look like. So yeah, looking forward to chatting with everybody here.
CJ, last but definitely not least.
Hey everyone, I'm CJ. Right now I'm doing some private consulting. Previously, I was a senior manager in digital transformation for Accenture for about 7, 8 years. So lots of B2B enterprise experience. I come out of function and domain before tech. And so I've seen a lot of things change about product management and how enterprises are trying to whether shift to or just leverage product and agile for what they're trying to achieve.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. So, how do you guys all feel about comp for the industry?
I feel like it's kind of all over the place right now. There's like a divide. I'm starting to see a lot of lower numbers than I've seen before that maybe in the past they might have been something for like BA or product owner. I also think over time I've seen a lot more and more like just non-tech sounding or just flat out just enterprises, something in manufacturing, heavy industry, resources, things like that, posting up product management roles. And sometimes I think, especially earlier on, they were always kind of like off base on what a product manager would be doing and what you should be paying them. And I think that's out of just not knowing, right? They don't have product management as a pillar. They've been trying more and more enterprises have been trying to bring that on as a discipline. So like that's one thing. But right now, whether it's a function of AI or just a ton of people in the market and kind of being like, who can we get to accept this low number? I think I see a lot of low numbers, and but the job description is like stacked. And so I just wonder like who let you put this out on the internet?
Corporate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm curious because it's always a supply and demand game, right? Like if there is a surplus of supply or folks, essentially desperate for the next opportunity, you're going to see that rate fall. I think Rich could probably speak to this most effectively in terms of just, you know, what's the supply look like today, for folks looking for new jobs, right? Because I'm personally not actively looking at the moment, although I've had a few conversations as of late. Um, and where I'm looking tend to be very like unique verticals or, very, teams really early on in their journeys where you should generally think that you're going to take some sort of discount, which is offset by whether it's equity or some upside, right, in the long term. But yeah, curious to see, if you guys have heard ranges that are below, what you guys have experienced in the past.
yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would probably follow, pretty closely with what CJ and James has said. I think it's all dependent on the industry that you're really focused on. I've definitely worked across tech, um, and then obviously as of late with like, the apparel and fashion industries. I think tech holds their comps still pretty relatively high. Like if you're talking about the big four, right? Like or the big five, whatever. Google, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. I think they're still pretty strong. Like Meta, like they're all like if you go to Meta, if you go to their career page, dude, they're paying product managers like upwards of like 200K. Like there's no shortage of comp there, right? But if you go elsewhere, or if you go to like fintech, there's definitely no shortage of comp. Um, but everywhere else, it's kind of like what CJ is saying. It's like they're the JD is stacked, right? And it's like your responsibilities has either stayed the same or it's grown, but the pay is just kind of like they just went down, right? And this so yeah, I'm really interested as to see like how it's gonna progress further down the road. But it definitely doesn't compare to like, what it was like when we first, especially with when you first started Product Gym, Rich, when you first like what, 8, 9 years ago, when you brought, yeah, like when you brought me on, back in what, 2019, 2020. Um, back then it was just it was like abundant, like they were just throwing comps like it was nothing, like it was candy. But now it seems like everyone's strapped, especially with AI coming out, and how AI is trending, um, and the lack thereof like positions. But I think the resources, there's more than enough resources, but the position is limited. So kind of to what James is saying, like the demand is definitely there.
Yeah. We were talking about like when I first got into recruiting, like you're talking about 2014, 2015. A
Yeah.
senior product manager's salary was about 350 to about 375.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
James, he just
that's
responded like a drug deal that just gone bad. Like, you didn't think I was gonna count that shit? Bring the car.
that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. 350 to like 375 was like what people were getting comped out there for somebody with about 4 to 6 years of experience was like,
No way.
yeah, getting pulled like about, yeah, dude got paid out on commission off of that thing. So like I knew those rates like, you know,
I mean, the
somebody,
only person that I knew that like actually hit that number was Dennis Whipple, right?
well,
Like,
we're not talking about right now. I'm talking about like 10 years ago.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
So when I got
I mean,
when I got into the game,
yeah.
it was 2014, 2015.
I
So
mean, the space has also gotten diluted, right? There's just that many more people that have transitioned or explored the pivot to product, right? It's like the role that you don't need necessarily the technical acumen, right? Um, have like very specific experience is a bit more of a generalist role, right? At least how it's pitched. But 350, holy smokes! Unfortunately, I wasn't around for that era of product.
oh man, you would have crushed
Yeah, I feel
it.
like I missed that. I
No,
missed
we're
that
talking
one.
about
Um,
10 years ago, we're talking about like 350, 375 for like senior PM,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I did see roles that actually went north of that to like 450. But what the 185 210K role is today in terms of what companies are paying out was the 350 375. Yeah, so you'd have like kids just doing one placement and be like, yeah, see you guys next quarter, you know. Dude. Like that was kind of like the talk,
Jeez.
like you only need one. Yeah, like, yeah. Because if you're getting paid like 20, 25, like 30% off of that was insane that companies were even willing to pay that much. So like what's gotten the rates down and like what can you guys go ahead and do to kind of jack your rates up, right? So what's gotten the rates down first and foremost is like definitely like oversaturation of people that have wanted to come in. This role got really hot actually after the coffee meets bagel pitch on Shark Tank. The product management like search just went up. So if you look up like Google Trends and stuff, like you'll see like it was a spike when like those three Korean sisters are like, hang on, what are y'all's background? You guys just turned down $30 million from Mark Cuban, you know? And they're like, well, yeah, it's like me and my sister here was like we used to be product managers, and then the youngest one like was like a product designer coming out of Parsons. And like, and then that's when the search volume like really hit. That was like 2013,
Yeah.
but a kind of important thing to note after that, this is the power of Shark Tank. Uh, the product management program with General Assembly started in 2014, and then product school also started in 2014. So those three Korean sisters just giving out like, yeah, so the two of us here were product managers, and then our youngest sister was like a product designer. Uh, because they're like, you guys know like tech and you guys know finance. That like alone, I don't even think they realize that alone kind of like jump started the industry of like people were like, oh yeah, I want to be a product manager. Like that, like the search on Google of trends of like product management training programs. And because I was a history major, people can quote the fucking dates. They're like, oh shit. Like, yeah, that jump started. I don't think they realized they jump started an industry. I mean, they're the whole reason why I was able to move to New York. Uh, but like, so there's been an oversaturation of people that's coming in. Number two is even before AI, 80% of the product managers that work in the business have been working on internal tools. So like, they're working on shit that like never ever is going to get shown. Like I remember one of our first one of the first people I worked with to make a transition. Uh, she was working on she was working on this like internal accounting platform because they had three accounting platforms at Samsung. And she oh man, God bless her soul, dude. She had like the awesome job of like bringing it all together into one. She was an accounting background, but most she's like, yeah, I've never worked on like anything that was consumer facing. I was like, yeah, neither has 85% of the racket. So product managers for the past 10 years have been automating their own job away, even before AI. AI just got expedited with tech talent refusing to go back into the. This is the hilarious thing is that the kind of like the splurt into AI really it would have been human like the course of human society would have been altered if tech would have just gone back to the fucking office. Like if it wasn't for like the people that well I do better work from home. like, yeah, now you're just at home, bro. They weren't having that shit. Of course they weren't gonna announce a war on you guys, right? So like you have like just overall job automation away. Number three, people are just willing to take lower rates. So like so many people, I remember when I first got to New York, they'll just say like, I'm willing to take like that was when product management was really hot. I'm willing to take a $20,000 pay cut for this job. So if you have people that are constantly willing to take lower rates, you're basically the all you can eat Korean barbecue buffet, right? Like that's unfortunate, but you got to go like more high end. It's because you have no margins there. Like most product managers are just willing to take lower rates. And what they figured out in recruiting is like if we just keep quoting lower rates until some motherfucker out there says yes, then we can just drive it down. So actually, all the cheap bastards that refuse to pay product, Jim, they're the fucking reason actually why the salaries are down is because like, yeah, would you do this for like 160? Like, yes. Would you do this for 150? Oh yeah. Would you do this for like 145? Hell yes. So H-1B visa holders has kind of contributed towards that because unfortunately for them, they have very little like negotiation power and companies feel like they can get a like the reason why they're like, fighting for H-1Bs out there is not really because they care about like giving opportunity to immigrants is because they know that they can work somebody that's on an H1, like Duru here that was on the call. Up until she got green card. Like they could just keep piling work on them like crazy. Uh um they're not going to go ahead and fight back. That and like generally speaking in the industry, acquisitions have gone down. You guys aren't seeing like the people that are like exiting. Like I think the last big exit that I remember from the good old days that resemble what tech was is like Honey. Like the like I had a bunch of friends that got in there at the ground level. Yeah, that's not what tech is anymore. Tech is like in order to get acquired, in order to get acquired, you need to actually have real value, and that's why somebody would take a job in tech. That's like because like on the All In podcast, they do like the they do like the whatchamacallit. They talk about product management actually all the time. Yeah, like tech right now is not about getting acquired. The next best thing is like IPO. You guys will see like a whole genre of documentaries of like Theranos, WeWork, right? It's all about like fucking what's that, the Sam Bankman-Fried one, FTX. It's all about like product management is really like you're just a fucking hype man now or hype woman. Like let's just rally like like it's shit. So like if we're not going for the acquisition or not going for the IPO anymore, like what are we really playing for right now? You're not seeing like I just got back from like Hong Kong. Like the Chinese tech companies, they're doing legit innovation. Like what WeChat can do right now in country is like insane. Yeah, like let's say last 10 years, other than the AirPods, like we're not really seeing anything come out, right? So well, where's the revenue go out there and pay you guys? What are our product managers actually doing about that to kind of solve the situation is starting their own brands, kind of hence the reason why everybody's on this call. Like, so who are the people that are making like 400, 300, 400, 500K right now? Number one, the PMs that actually have a brand, because you're essentially speaking, you're a walking commercial. You are a freaking commercial for the business, and they love that shit. People wonder why, like the influencers that are working at the company, why they are not getting laid off. Like it's like because a lot of the people that work at these places, um, even like when they get laid off, they're not complaining about how bad the job hunt is or how tough it is to get an interview. Is because like companies actually want to hire them, right? They're choosing to actually not work. So personal brand, the other thing that people can actually go out there and do to like kind of rack up is actually have like actually know the value that you're bringing to the company and actually understand what KPIs you're responsible for delivering. If you actually make money for the business, if you actually make money for the business, then you can go ahead and actually, it's very easy to justify your comp because currently right now you guys are paying me X amount of dollars because I'm responsible for, how many new users we're getting on this app or how many in-app purchases we're getting on this app, right? But unfortunately, most product managers cannot deliver results. The ones that actually can deliver results are too fucking burnt out to try to even deliver results. Because in order for them to go out there and drive that KPI up, they have to rally a lot of people to get on the same page, and they don't care to do it anymore. And I get it. It's like, why am I going to war over this thing like I'm already gold, trying to like get this movie out, and what's the payout? Like the money's just not there, right? So they're just gonna go out there and like I would say probably the best product managers out there are like great at stalling. It's like, yeah, you know what? That's gonna take us 3 months because like they don't care for it. Like they could, you know.
I don't think, sorry, I don't mean to interject. I don't think product managers has the capability to make that decision whether or not to do the work or not. Like there's, you know, if you're talking about us, like regular PMs, no, we're literally just like the bottom of the barrel. Like unless you're like VP of product, then okay, you have that decision. But we can't like, you know, senior product, all we can do, like let's just say product managers or even senior product managers, at most we can do is we can give a suggestion or like, hey, here's the risks and like here's the outcome or like, but I I don't think we have the capability or the power to make those decisions unless you're like in those higher up like C suites or like um VPs or directors. But even then, yeah, I guess I can align with you in that they are somewhat like, oh yeah, like I'm already golden, like I'm me here, like let's see, what the VP wants to do or but at the end of the day, I don't well, I don't think we have much power into deciding like can we do this? Should we do this? Whatever. At the end of the day, it's whoever our stakeholders are. I think they control um, the timeline or the pace. Um, you know, but
I mean, from like the leadership or management perspective, they're always like I see it from both sides because I've done it from like a few different angles too.
yeah.
Um, um, from like the individual contributor's point of view, that's generally speaking the feedback. Um,
Oh
from
yeah, if you're talking about if you're talking about individual contributors, like they're a different like that's a totally different playing field, right? Like what's the average for individual contributors for PMs? Like
Yeah,
what's their
yeah. I mean, ICs are typically like middle management and below, right?
right?
And
Yeah,
so, and I would agree. Like, it sounds like you've been at like large on larger teams, and so
yeah,
like when you join, roadmaps are already in place, right? There
correct.
are
Exactly.
there are other like
it should
drivers.
be.
Usually, it's all revenue top down, right? Like
Exactly.
what's been identified to boost revenue, and let's build towards that. Um, I've been at, for the most part, startups for the last 10 years, and I've had a lot more freedom to provide like input that's actually considered, right? And now I'm back in enterprise where the roadmap is already built for me. I'm told that I could adjust and provide input from my perspective, but ultimately, no matter how good the idea, like I'm going to be trumped by some VP or director that wants to make a name or get their name further socialized at the company, right? And have something to hang their hat on for like H1 of the year, right? And so, yeah, definitely a different experience. I think it really depends on size of team, how flat the organization is, right? Once you get past like a couple hundred employees, like you're 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 trending towards mid to larger size organizations, and so I think it's a very different experience depending on headcount. But yeah, I mean, I know we're kind of getting off base from the conversation, but I do think like that all goes to the ranges you'll see, right? What you're being tasked with, what the budget for the team is, the size of the team, all that matters, I think. And so hopefully relevant.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
as
no.
long
I
as
never.
people, yeah, as long as people are willing to go out there and take lower rates, which like nobody on this call has like really any power to influence that. Like as long
Wait,
as people are willing to take lower rates, the rates will be lower.
so hold on. When you say take lower rates, I want to like push back against that. Or not push back, but like I'll play devil's advocate on that. What demographic of PMs are taking lower rates? Because if a PM has experience, like use me for an example, right? I'll go into these interviews and they'll be like, yeah, this PM role, yeah, we're looking for someone with like, 5 to 6 year experience. And they'll throw me like a number, like let's just say like 150. And I'll take that and I'll use that and compare it to like my last engagement, right? And I'll be like, no, like my last engagement was, let's just throw a number out there, or like, X amount. It's way less than what I was getting paid before. Why would I take that lower rate? I'm gonna keep striving. I'm gonna keep pushing for a higher rate. Now, if you're talking about the demographic of entry level PMs, totally understandable. Your entry level, you'll take a lower pay. But if you're talking about seasoned PMs, I don't think they're gonna like lower their rate, right? Unless they're desperate, right?
You
So
got
I
a lot of
guess
desperate people right now.
no, oh yeah, okay. Like, times are tough for sure, right? Times are tough for sure. Um, but like I think there's always like a threshold. Like I need for me, like if you're confident in your skill set and you have an X amount of experience and you're able to speak to that experience, I think you should be able to hold your ground, right? And speak to that. Unless the company itself, they're saying like, hey, sorry, this is literally our budget and this is what we're at. So either take it or leave it, right? But I just did a quick Google search on trending compensation for product managers. Kind of like what I said during our introduction. You're talking if you talk about like the FANG companies like Facebook, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, dude, it says right here on like their base salary ranges from 160 to 200K, right? Meta itself, the estimated total pay range for a product manager at Meta is 263,000 to 395,000 per year.
Yeah, but you know how many times people go into the fucking interview and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like this is the range," and then when like the number actually comes out, like yeah, 140.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, that's a
Yeah,
different story, but yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah, I think it's a blend of things going on in the market that Rich
Yeah.
has brought up before and what Lawrence is talking about. And so like coming out of consulting, it's giving me a different point of view actually to what Lawrence and James said before too. So I've been on the other side. I've been responsible for driving the direction, what features going to be in there, what's not, and why. And the reason that is because even though my client was huge because they're Fortune 500 and so is Accenture, my team was always small because my practice was always small. And the point of my practice was to introduce new products for these clients, right? When clients didn't understand, I don't think they understand now. When clients understood less about product management, like they would come in with these wild numbers asking for like an analyst rate for someone with senior manager experience. And we'd always have to talk them down like, you either want a flaming trash product or you're not on the same planet
Yeah.
because an analyst literally can't know what some 7-year, 10-year senior manager knows.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then the thing that's in the market that it'll still take a few more years to get out of, anybody that graduated and didn't get a job during COVID is like still kind of floundering around in the market. And so right now it's people who graduated, didn't get a job for a few years, lost their job and are re-entering the market. And then Rich on another call talked about how during this time period, a bunch of randos just got into product management, but didn't know what they were doing and burned a lot of companies. Those people are
Yeah.
back in the market.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get these jobs now. And so it's like, well, there's a ton of people. You say you got product manager on your resume, but did you burn some other company? Do you actually know what you're doing? How come have
Yeah.
you like, and so that's
well,
why
yeah,
everybody's like, let me just put the stupid number out there and see if someone says, yeah, I'll work for that.
Right.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
if
And
you're
that's what
like
I'm saying.
yeah, if you're a product
Yeah,
manager
sorry.
coming out from big tech, like companies generally speaking, like the companies that have reached out to me,
Yeah,
big, middle, and small, they're like, we don't even want to talk to them.
yeah, I
Because
get
they're
that.
like, these guys aren't like legit product managers. I got like two death threats from like somebody that hasn't been working, got laid off at Meta. It's like, because they're used to like all these different, they're used to like such a large amount of
Yeah.
resources. And it's just like all of a sudden, like, what are you talking about? I got to roll this out within a month. Like, no. I don't even
And
have a
actually,
team.
I was gonna say, like, kind of to what like CJ was saying, like they expect analysts to like do like senior like position roles, but it's kind of like when I was working at Nike and I worked with like actual designers, like D1, D2, D3 designers, and I worked closely with them, and they're like, yeah, like the clients want like the designers to create this like grand like this grand like product, but they don't realize like all the work, like the necessary steps and like the processes that goes into it. So they're throwing them at like, like dirt cheap rates. And the designer's like, dude, this is barely enough to like pay rent. It's like, what are you expecting? So it's like, depending on like which industry, which field you're going to, like your teams, like your department, like do they really understand the nuances of what product management can do for for the company? Now, if you're looking at the FANG companies and like the big, the big techs, like I think they have a pretty good grasp on like, hey, what product management is supposed to be, and that's why I think
Yeah,
aside from obviously like how big they are, but like I think they have the funding there, right? But when you're going to like any other, you know, I wouldn't say mom and pop shops, but like, something that's smaller, and they're just like, oh, we might need product management, and they don't really have an idea of like, oh, like, and then you're bringing in someone that's fresh. And that's when you get like that's when like the new entry level product manager, they're like, oh, like I think I can get this, this position. They're offering me like, this set price, this set comp, and then they kind of fuck it up for this new company that's trying to hire product management, and then I think that that also plays a part, right? So
yeah,
it's like you need to know who you're applying to, and like when you interview with them, definitely like don't just sit there and like you know take all the questions. Like you also have the opportunity to interview the company, get a better understanding of like what product are they trying to push out, what's their goal, um, what's their product strategy, what's the product vision, and how does that align to like what the consumer needs, and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, I think it's you like if let's say we're talking to a group of new product managers and you're trying to break into product management, that's like you could definitely have to do your due diligence and do your market research and really understand like where does this company lie on the spectrum? What are they doing? Like, I think at the end of the day, like it all ties in, right? Like the product, the consumer, like the brand, whatever it is, there has to be some sort of like, I guess, impact to what product management is doing for the company. Do you really need product management, or do you need just project management or a program manager, right? Like what's holding it all together, right? Some people say that project management and product management are two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
And, some can argue, the other side. So at the end of the day, it's like, um, what is it that the company is really looking for, and like, are they hiring the right individuals? And I'm not gonna lie, like I've definitely been in the shoes where I felt like a huge imposter syndrome when I first started. And would I say I burned a company? No, I think it was like a learning experience where I'm like, okay, like I have a supportive team. I'm understanding the nuances of like the processes for this company. And product management is so general and generic that if you go into different industries, like at a high level, yes, product management is, developing the product from end to end, gathering the requirements, design, implementation, and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there's different, like, from fintech to, fashion and apparel, or, from fintech to, um, you know, hospitality, whatever it may be. It's just at the end of the day, you have to really understand like what's the impact of that role, and do they really need that role? And if you don't, then and you don't know what you're doing, then yeah, you're gonna burn that company to the ground, and they're obviously gonna you're gonna leave a bad taste in their mouth. And at the end of the day, they're like, okay, well, that product manager didn't really know what he was doing. So how can we trust the next one coming in? And then that's where like the interview process gets a little bit more stringent.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I
spoke
see that in
with
consulting all the time.
I spoke with, well, I had interviews with two of my previous employers rather recently, and it was a combination of all the things that you guys have mentioned. So for one company, they were like, "All right, so you've been a PM at this company before, right?" I was like, "Yeah." And but by the way, you also have to do account management as well as the P&L management. I'm like, dude, we used to have 3 different teams for all the roles that you just went over, and you guys are like shoving this all into product management. But I guess in their defense, they increased the salary for their senior PM roles, but still, like they're kind of like squeeze. They're trying to like squeeze as much as possible into from one person. So I saw that from both of my previous employers, and yeah, it's just it's I don't know. Best wishes to whoever joined or whoever took that position. I think someone internal took it, but
We also
yeah.
need a volunteer for this month's happy hour event. You out there help coordinate that. We need a
Yeah,
vet
I
kit.
mean, I think it's important, like you take the interview not only to be interviewed, but interview the company, right? And the person that you're
Mm.
speaking to in front of you. Like you have to contextualize, hey, why are their bands the way they are? Like what's the expectations of the role, right? Like what's the motivation for filling the role, right? Um
yeah,
and so like to add that context, and it's up to you to ultimately make that decision, right? Like am I going to take a lower comp because I really like how they're envisioning the role and the impact and the potential
Mm.
upside here, right? Whether it's monetary, whether it's a stepping stone for your next step in your career, right? I know one of the reasons why I went back to enterprise was because I wanted to fill out my resume, right? I've been at startups for a better part of 8 to 10 years. I wanted to show that I also know how to operate and work at a larger organization, right? And understand the nuances of navigating that sort of environment. And so,
Mm.
again, I think it's to each his own, but definitely take advantage of the time you have with somebody representing the interests of that company ultimately, right? And so, being armed with those questions and understanding who it is you're even speaking to, I like to do like a pretty deep dive into my interviewer. I've actually had that work very much in my favor in the past, where I've like watched this guy's videos and when he was speaking to like trends in the iOS space. And I think that ultimately got landed me my first job at Prolific, if you recall, Rich, right? Like this guy was super impressed by the fact that I went into YouTube and watched like 3 of his like talks on like his thoughts in mobile and the direction it was going. And I think his recommendation went a really long way to land me my first role, right? And so and again, I wanted to touch a lot of things. I wanted to work with different companies. And so like having my first job be at like an agency out of Brooklyn, working with really cool companies like Fortune 500 down to startups, right? Like we got a chance to build Clear's first POC app, and now you see them in every airport, right? And so I think it's really like, what do you understand? Like, what are you trying to get? Obviously, it's always a numbers game, but that could also work to your advantage. You get to contextualize so many different perspectives on openings across industries, across companies, and take that into the next interview, right? And I think that's all stuff you could leverage, right? So
Yeah, yeah, that's like the way to. I haven't seen a more effective strategy, but um, that numbers game thing that James actually hit on is having multiple offers and making sure, like, because the thing is, what I noticed about the product managers that were getting the bigger salaries was this. They were treating it like a VC game. Like VCs don't invest in a startup that's pre-revenue, by the way. Like it hasn't even made one red cent yet, right? They don't invest based upon your deck or the numbers the analysts present to them. They drop cash based upon the conversations that you're just having with the rest of the town. So if they so much as see an Instagram photo of you coming out of the Sequoia Capital parking lot, it's like their interest level is like, okay, fuck the numbers. So who are they there to see? Jerry? Oh fuck. They're really buying it on that perception of like, you know, obviously, they're doing a lot more diligence now in 2025 than they did in 2015. But there was like a whole racket of people that help people out. If you got like just even one shitty investor that was some crazy rich Asian kid claiming to be Jack Ma's son, right? To just even shell out like 50 G's off of your thing, right? That was just enough to just get you like another investor, another investor, another investor, and like the more people that you have in, Hollywood's kind of the same shit. If you know, you're just constantly just getting more of like the necessary stakeholders on the table. Like I'm not going to be the first to jump in unless this person jumps in, unless this person jumps in, unless this person jumps in, right? If you really want to go ahead and rack up a salary, it starts with you getting offers from shittier companies, and then it's going to be, you know, better companies and better companies. But most people are trying to go, how do I get Netflix like next? Like, you're not getting Netflix next week, bro.
No.
You're not getting Netflix next year. You know, like, you gotta you gotta get you gotta get like a fucking product manager offer from like Dick's Sporting Goods and Jerry Styrofoam and cleaners and grill, and then you can go out there and rack your way up. But
Dude, I applied to Netflix so many times. Like it's like impossible to work at Netflix. I literally applied to Netflix like 5 times, and they're like they constantly just reject me. I'm like, fuck you.
impossible.
Fuck you. And like Facebook too. I like applied to like Meta. Like there's been so many positions at Meta that literally like is like it's not even a senior product manager role. It's literally just a regular like base product manager role, and like I fulfill all the requirements. They never got back to me. And I'm just like, man, they definitely have a lot of time on their hands, and they just taking their time picking out obviously the best of the best. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think overall like I think if we, if we're talking about just, getting back on topic of the topic of compensation, I definitely think compensation definitely has dropped. Like entry level, like the average base salary for entry level product managers, I think the average is around 70 to 80K, like 90 at best. That's like that's. But if you turn back the hands of time, like go back like go at 2015, 2014. Um, yeah, like entry level was like at least over 100K, easy. Um, and then if you're talking about like senior level, I think the average base salary now is around like 120 to like 200, right? But before, I think senior level, like you could easily reach like 250 easy. Um, but
Well,
yeah.
it goes down to a few things for that. So what most people don't realize in recruiting is that you can always negotiate. The overwhelming majority of people don't. You know, like the reason why, and I'm a minority myself, if you haven't noticed,
I
is
don't
that
think it's that they don't, it's that they don't know how to negotiate up.
they well, a big part of it is they don't know how, but even the people that don't know how, like a lot of people just don't do it. Like when I was
No.
a recruiter, when we met in LA like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
it was very common across, like I saw that shit within the first 60 days that I got there. That white boy's always like, can we do any better? Like, it's like he'll at least ask, like, you know, I mean, I don't know if I even can. Like I'm just being like, my dad just told me to ask, right? It's like the generally speaking, the Asian guy, like the minority guy, would just be like, all right, I'm just gonna work really hard. You know, the minority female is like, man, fuck this shit, but I'm so over it. You know, like, you know, I like my hard work's gonna show. It's not, and they're gonna appreciate it. They won't. And at that time, like I'll be in a year, maybe like a year, 18 months from now, I'll be, no, you won't. He still won't be in a bed. Like it's like 18 months later, you'll hit them up for like more cash, and they'll be like, have you been here for 2 years already? No way. Like, yeah, you paid me this shit right 2 years ago. I crushed like every KPI, and then you guys gave me five more, and then I did that. And I'm still making the same amount of money I did 2 years ago, right? Like companies are like incentivized to like not pay you, right? But so I think like the first things first is like in recruiting, you are fucking trained to go ahead and give a number that is $30,000 below budget in the event that somebody is going to go ahead and counter your ass. Like they actually tell you that in orientation. Like if all of a sudden they start firing more troops at you and that was the top of the line, you got nothing left, right? Because sometimes you will get a wild card where I had this Vietnamese guy out of nowhere he got an Amazon offer. And I was like, I want to see the offer. And I was like, oh, shit, it's a real fucking offer right here. So we want him or like what do we do? I don't know, man. We either tell this dude we either want him or we can't afford him, And then it was like these like two it was like these two I hate to like start like busting out all the race cars. Like these two Greek American guys in the valley, way out there in the valley in LA. Motherfuckers whooped out an extra 50 G's. I was like, where was this underneath the mattress this whole fucking time, dude? But like, yeah, like if they see value, like they'll actually drop cash for it. I've seen that so many times. So of course, naturally, people always tell me like, "Oh, Rich, they said that was their best and final." Fuck yeah, they did. They ain't gonna say
Yeah,
that. Yeah, this is a
yeah,
150 Lawrence, but this is my starting number, just so you know.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think general rule of thumb is you never take the first offer, right? Like
No, absolutely
that's
not.
their first shot, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
at the very least, pose a counter, right? Like, and
always.
worst case scenario, and like if they've gotten to the point where they're extending the offer, they do want you. And so like I think
Right.
people are afraid of the fact that like, will they rescind it? Like, sure, then fuck you, right? Like if they offered me like 120, I'd just fire back and say 250. Like, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do? Or like, I
exactly.
mean, obviously, depending on how badly you want the role or how what your economic or financial situation might be. I mean, obviously, but like ultimately, like general rule of thumb again is you don't accept the first offer. At least have a conversation, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I think that's something that people forget, right?
The first offer is always them lowballing you. It's like with any negotiation, right? Like you can take it out of product management context. You go on Facebook Market and you're trying to buy something. You don't be like, oh yeah,
Damn
I'm
right.
gonna pay you that price that you put on there. You're gonna come in, you're gonna be like, let me get 50% off of that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
drop
let
it
me get
off. And
50% off
drop
of
it
that,
off,
and
by the
then
way.
then you have a long conversation, right? It's the same thing. Like they're treating us like hey, like as if they're not making billions of dollars, right? And it's like, oh, you're literally gonna pay me 150, or you're literally gonna pay me like entry level 80K for a product management role where I'm gonna help you make millions, and you're literally
Right.
gonna give me like what, like chump change,
Pennies on the
which is like
dollar.
literally like
What?
yeah, like no. And like for those people that are afraid to fire back and they're just like they will accept it, like, you know, sucks for them, and they're kind of like,
They chose to
yeah,
be poor.
yeah, exactly. It's like that was your decision and you kind of fucked yourself over on that. But first off, the first offer is always a low ball. Like, do your homework. Like this company, how much does this company make? And this is their offer. Think a little bit, right? And it's like if you think a little bit, like, and then kind of like what James says, like have a conversation with them. You're like, all right, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do for you, and this is how much I'm gonna be able, like, I'm gonna be able to make
What I'm
this
gonna do for
amount for
you.
you. You can throw me like dimes and pennies, like no, like fuck, like, and like James said, fire back. What the worst they're gonna say is like, nah, the most we can do is this. All right, great, fuck off. I'm gonna move on.
Yeah,
Like,
like yeah, if they get to the offer stage, like they're pretty committed at that point. Like I
Yeah.
like
It's like what James says. If they threw you an offer, they want you. So it's
right.
like there's something about your experience, there's something about your skill set that that caught their attention. So use that to your advantage, right? And then be like, all right, you obviously gave me an offer. I'm gonna counter because I'm not about to take dimes and pennies from you. Like, what the fuck? You
Yeah,
know?
man. It's yeah, well you won't see the number of I mean,
No, we'll
yeah,
never see the truth, like what,
yeah.
like how much we can really make from them. No, like the best is to have yourself, and that's the thing. I think people like they want to know what the most that they can get, but it's like no, set yourself a number, right? Like for me, obviously, I always like my next opportunity or my next engagement or whoever my next client is. I'm always trying to make at least like, I don't know, 15% more than my previous, 15 to 20% more than what I was making before. So it's a constant always like that's how I kind of like promote like kind of like give myself a promotion, right? Or like give myself a raise. Like I never worked in a position where like long enough for me to like get a raise or in being like a consulting like field. Um the only way that I can promote myself or give myself a raise is to literally find the next opportunity and then throw them my number as opposed to like taking what they're offering me. So it's like, and I guess, an advice to, the new product managers that are trying to break into the field, it's like know your worth, know your value, know what you can bring to the table. And sure, yeah, there might be a time where it's like you're just beginning, but even then it's like, okay, you're new to product management, but you're not new to your like the skill sets that you have. So whether, let's take myself for example, I transitioned from business analyst to product management, right? So like I'm utilizing my experience and I can speak to that experience and then, kind of um I guess you could say I could finesse it into like, hey, this is how it relates to product management. And then use that. Like most people are like, oh my God, this is a new role. I'm literally gonna like accept whatever comes my way. It's like, okay, you can do that, but you're literally going to screw yourself over. Um, I think it's definitely, in this type of world, it's definitely a dog eat dog world. Like, either you eat or you beat or you get eaten, right? Like, you got to be the bigger fish in the pond. And you got to fight for what's yours. If not, you're literally just going to get, you're just going to get pushed around and you're going to get scraps. Um, so yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, know how to navigate your way, um, especially like using the skill sets that you have, your experience, and kind of speak to that, and then don't be afraid, to push back and like James says, to have a dialogue, to have a conversation with them, to see what is it that they really want, and really understand what their problem is, and that's what product managers do. Like we literally just solve problems day in day out, right? That's why they bring us in. Like they can't solve a problem. They can't solve the problem that they have now, which is why they bring in a product manager so that in hopes that we could put out that garbage can fire and then, help them build a new feature or function that's going to like drive revenue for them. At the end of the day, it's all about driving revenue, right? Like, oh, what are we? We're building a fucking feature for you. We're building a new product, and what is this product going to do? Fucking bring in more money for you, and it's not just a few bucks like this one feature or this function is literally going to drive more foot traffic or more consumer engagement, right? This new UI is going to bring in like yeah, it's a simple function, but it's going to simplify the lives of your consumers. And these consumers, they're willing to just drop dumb money, and you think you're going to like pay me out like 100,000 just like no like I'm gonna ask for more money because I know how much I know the value I'm gonna bring to your company and I know how much that value is gonna generate um you know the revenue for
Yeah.
for your company, so
Well,
definitely don't be
overall,
afraid
yeah.
to push
Overall,
back.
to like kind of wrap it up to where I like time for this week is um number one, like know your worth. Number two is like definitely interview the company back. The bigger rates are still out there, but you guys can always go out there and actually counter. Have if you have like more interviews and more offers, then you feel more at least you feel more comfortable because at like, under the threat of the gun, you feel like you have to give like an answer. Like that's the other thing too. Like you don't have to give an answer on the spot. Like you can say like, "Wow, this is an amazing offer. Can I go out there and think about it?" And then come back to them. No, I don't think anybody should ever like have to like actually analyze the offer in your entire package. Um, but yeah, fam, I want to thank everybody for
Yeah,
coming
I think
through.
Rich, I think you left out the most important one that you brought up, and the best approach is to leverage other offers, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like give them something to work against as opposed to just arguing and or negotiating with you, right? And so those four things I think really put you in a much better spot when you're
Yeah.
negotiating. So
Yeah, it's like the ultimate perception of it's like Coke barbecue, right? The more people that show up there, the more people want to come through. Um, like at the end of the day, nobody knows if you're going to be able to deliver. They don't know if you're going to be able to deliver. You also don't know if you're going to be able to deliver. But I mean, everybody's going to go out there and shoot their best shot. But the confidence is reassured when there's other people that's like, we want to hire this person too. That is the ultimate like the difference maker in terms of a company actually, like that's true if you're like trying to freaking get a movie off the ground, or that's true if you're trying to go out there and get investors. So I have to go out there and head over to my other call now, which some of you have been able to leave, and I'm very happy to see that. Thank you guys all for coming out. See, this concludes this week's episode. I'll see you guys all soon. All right, thank you guys. I know it's late over there.
let her up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace.